Hi. Thank you, everyone who reached out to me yesterday. I got quite a few text messages and sort of private communication. I feel a little worried. I just think when you're in grief, you get waves of grief, and sometimes it just hits you. And I don't want to pretend. I think one of the biggest motivations for this channel is obviously because I want to have sort of a space to save things for my children. But also, the whole point of starting this channel was to talk about suffering and as a Catholic and how we deal with suffering. And so if I, if I hide my suffering and if I'm not honest about the way that I'm feeling and things like that, those lessons aren't going to stick, right? That's the whole point, is to talk about these issues that I think people don't talk about in our society. And especially as Catholics, we are not taught to suffer. We're not taught to suffer. And I mean, practically, we're not taught to suffer. Everybody talks about offering of our suffering, but what does that even look like? And I think, not that I necessarily am suffering well, I am trying very hard to do that. And I'm in that world right now. So it's kind of on the forefront of my mind. And so I feel like this is an opportunity that I could have to just share this with people that maybe, just maybe haven't even really thought about it, or might be stuck in a cycle of suffering, and they don't know how to get out, or they just practically don't know what to do. And so I think, yesterday I was in pain. I was tired. I hadn't had enough sleep, and I was having some issues with my legs, and it freaked me out. Everything's fine today. I think it's definitely some sort of muscle tension. I think sometimes when you're in pain, you also carry your muscles very strangely because you're trying to resist. I don't know. All sorts of weird things happen when we're in pain. Our bodies get very tight. But the thing was, today I feel fine. And I think it's when you do have this wave of grief, or when you do have disappointment, or you're angry, or any of those emotions that we have that bubble up, when you can kind of just sit with them and you're not afraid of them, because the emotions aren't going to hurt you. They're not going to hurt you. I mean, I know in an extreme grief situations, people can have broken heart syndrome and things like that. But generally speaking, I'm not saying that emotions can't have damage on your body in the long run. I'm sure they can. Okay. But the emotion will still be there even if you pretend it's not there. So if you're just running away from it and trying to kind of intellectualize your emotions, or whatever other coping techniques we have, or venting, or whatever, the emotions are going to stay, and whatever damage they could do will still be there. And so I think, yesterday I was wow, I'm really afraid of this. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. And I feel, this feeling and this feeling, and just being okay, this is my suffering. That is suffering. That's it. You can't suffer without suffering. You can't pick up your cross if you don't have a cross. And I think at least I myself, I did this for years, where I would just deny my feelings and try to relieve them in other ways. So then I would go chasing for reasons why I shouldn't feel a certain way. That was usually my go-to, was to talk to as many people as possible who would convince me not to feel this way anymore. So I wanted somebody to reason me out of it. But other people have other coping mechanisms that are just, they don't help you with the emotion in the first place. But also it's this wasted suffering where there's so much to pray for. There's so many intentions. But also we all have so much to make up for. But not just that. I don't want this to feel like you're indebted. I mean, it's more these things that just draw you closer and closer and closer to God. When you're constantly going back to him with suffering, you're relying on him, you're trusting him, and you will go closer to him. And then I think personally that a lot of these really intense passions start to die down, just because you're not as scared of the intensity of the passion. So the passion is okay, she hears what I'm saying. I don't know if that makes sense. The passion is you're in pain, you're in pain, you're in pain, you're in pain. And you're no, I'm not, no, I'm not, no, I'm not, no, I'm not. And then when you're just yes, I am, and I'm going to offer that up to God, then the passion's okay, I'm glad that you heard me. I'm glad you heard me. I'm going to stop yelling at you now. Because I don't think passion is not bad and emotions are not bad. There's nothing wrong with feeling intense emotions. In fact, that's the whole point of life. I mean, it's not, but it's the whole point of art and things like that, is this deep passion that people express And, otherwise we just be animatronic, these beings. You've got to have that wealth of emotions to be a full human. Not saying that people that have an even temperament aren't full humans, but I think there's something to be said for feeling them, and that's what makes us alive. And then bringing those to our Lord, who gave us this emotional world in the first place. It's like this sort of beautiful cycle that you can go through. So anyway, I'm doing fine. Thank you guys. And I'm going to make a little quick video, and I'm going to post both of these today, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.